Yes, good afternoon, traders. I hope you are all doing well. Welcome back to Traders Hub YouTube channel, where we post trading education content and weekly technical analysis. With you, as usual, is Mali Mathman, head trader at Traders Hub. And without wasting time, let's jump into the charts. Yes, as usual, we are going to start with dollar index from higher time frame, and as usual, we are going to start from the daily time frame. Yes. If we look carefully, we can see that this low has led to a break of structure to the upside. Okay, let's start by labeling it. Yes, this low led to this break of structure. You can call it break of structure or trend of change. Change of trend. And after every break of structure, we will always have a correction. Okay, after every break of structure is a correction before we get a continuation, and after every continuation is a correction before we get further continuation to the upside. Okay, so this is our last break of structure to the upside, and yes, after every break of structure, we all know that is a correction, and the tool that we use mainly to anticipate where the correction will start a reversal is a special tool that we call Fibonacci. I think by now we all know the Fibonacci retracement tool. Okay, so you can see that this is the last break of structure to the upside, and currently the internal structure has shifted bearish. Okay, and we are now in a correction phase. So if you look carefully here on this current range, we have internal liquidity around this level, and last but not least, we have internal liquidity past 61 Fibonacci retracement level. Okay, so it is on these levels that I'm anticipating the price will shift and continue bullish with the daily time frame. Okay, and so if we look careful, we can see that on the daily time frame we are very bullish. Okay, yes, and that's my analysis on the daily time frame. But to get the clear picture, we have to go to the lower time frames. Okay, and for that reason we head over to 4-hour time frame. Yes, what do we have in the 4-hour time frame? Yes, you can see that we had this break of structure, and last but not least, this was the last break of structure to the upside. So this is the last structure that that pushed this price to the upside. Okay, but ever since we printed this high, you can see that all the internal all the internal price action has shifted bearish. Okay, let's put some labels here for us to clearly understand what I mean when I say internal structure has shifted. Okay, we have that break of structure to the downside, and I think this will be it is more visible on the 1-hour time frame, but nevertheless, let's do with 4-hour first, and we'll continue with the 1-hour time frame. Yes, and this is the last break of structure, internal break of structure to the downside. So we can see that ever since we we took this high to the downside, price has now shifted bearish. Okay, price is currently bearish on the 4-hour time frame, and that's because to fulfill the daily time frame correction, the lower time frame has to shift trend, okay, in order to fulfill the higher time frame or the daily time frame correction. And so this is what we expect to happen on the lower time frame, especially 4-hour and 1 hour. You can see that this is the last sweep of liquidity to the upside before plunging and breaking structure and continuing the structure to the downside. So yes, let me help you see this clearly. You can see that this is the last low that printed this high, which printed this low, and as we know, the rule of bullish trend is that in order for us to continue with bullish trend, we have to continuously form or print higher highs and higher lows. But unfortunately, with this, you can see that we anticipate that yes, we will get a correction, but a correction which will push the price further to the upside. But unfortunately, that did not happen, and the price failed to push to the upside, and that's why we printed this lower high followed with a lower low. Okay, and of course, once we start once we start printing a series of lower lows and lower highs, it is only fair for us to continue with the order flow or the trend that has presided. Okay, and so in this case, you can see that the 4-hour has continuously been printing lower lows and lower highs, and this currently is our latest lower low, and currently we are anticipating a correction to form a new lower low before we continue, a new lower high before we continue with the 4-hour time frame to fulfill the daily time frame correction. And so this is what I'm looking at on the 4-hour, and I'm looking for entries specifically after a sweep of this internal liquidity. Once we sweep this internal liquidity, I'll be looking to take this price further down before we get those bullish trades in confluence with the higher time frames. Okay, yes, and I think for us to clearly see whatever is happening here, we have to go lower on the 1-hour time frame. Yes, you can see that it is this high which printed this lower low. In return, we had a correction to print a new lower high, which printed this latest or the new lower low. And so, as usual, we are going to plot our Fibonacci retracement tools from the swing low to the swing, from the swing high to the swing low. Yes, we can see that this internal liquidity is in line with 61.878 Fibonacci retracement levels, and so I'll be looking to take shorts after we check this internal liquidity and fulfill the 78.6 Fibonacci retracement before we continue. And so on the DXY, this is what I'll be looking for. And I think that's it on the DXY. But as usual, we don't really trade the dollar alone or the dollar index alone. We usually trade dollar denominated pairs, and so we are going to we are going to continue with Euro USD and maybe GBP USD if it has good price, if it offers good price action. Yes, as usual, we're going to start from the higher time frames, and for this case it is the daily time frame. And so you can see that this is the highest point, okay? But after we got this high, we saw that price broke structure to the downside, okay? Let's label this. Price broke structure to the downside and printed this lower low. You can label it as trend change or change of character. And as usual, we all know now, after every break of structure, we anticipate a correction to premium levels or discounted levels. And for this case, and for our case, our premium levels are on 61.8 Fibonacci and 78.6 Fibonacci retracement levels. And so it is only on these levels that we look to continue with the trend further, okay? And you can see that with the price action that we had here, we retraced to around 61.8 Fibonacci levels and took this internal liquidity before we flash to the downside and continue with the structure, okay? And so after we got this break of structure on the daily time frame, it is only fair that we get a correction. After every impulsive phase, we must have a correction, okay? And so currently, after taking this swing low, we are anticipating a correction to at least 50, but preferably for us, 61.8 and 78.6 Fibonacci levels hold way stronger than 50. But that's a discussion for another day. And so on the daily time frame, I'm anticipating a bullish continuation and take this internal liquidity, and probably this will be the last internal liquidity before we continue to the downside. So we have this internal liquidity here and this one over here. Yes, just to show you where we come from, it is this high that broke structure to the downside. We got a correction to premium levels, continuation with the bearish structure, and now we are in a correction phase before we continue with the bearish phase, okay? And so that's my analysis on the euro dollar on the daily time frame. And to catch a clear glimpse of whatever is happening, we have to hedge to the lower time frames, and especially because we don't really trade on the daily time frames, and it is very rare for us to also trade on the 4-hour time frames, okay? And for that case, we head to the lower time frames and look for opportunities or point of interest. Yes, you can see that we had this is the last break of structure to the downside, and now whatever is happening inside here is internal, okay? And bear in mind the point at which we are on the daily time frame or on the higher time frame, okay? We have now taken the swing low, and for us to get the higher time frame correction or the daily time frame correction, the lower time frames have to shift their trends, okay? And for this case, the lower time frame was bearish, and so to get that higher time frame correction, the lower time frames have to shift to bullish, okay? And if we look carefully, we can see that we had this break of structure, and I think yes, when we head on the 1 hour time frame, we are going to see this much clearer. Yes, this was the this was the first trend change or shift of the lower time frame trend. And yes, after this break of structure, let me label this for you. Yes, after this break of structure, we had a correction, deep correction to 78.6 and continue pushing higher. Okay, and so clearly you can see that the lower time frames have now started shifting bullish, and for that case it is only fair for us to look for correction and continue with the lower time frame trend. Okay, and so after this break of structure over here, we are currently anticipating corrections to premium levels, in this case to discounted levels, before we push further. This is what I'm looking at on the 4 hour, but there are even better gems on the 1 hour time frame, and I think let's jump on the 1 hour time frame, and this is what we have here. You can see that we took this internally, we took this liquidity, and that's why I'm more inclined to the upside. I'm more inclined bullish than bearish, and I'll be looking to take I'll be looking to take bullish trades once we take this internal liquidity and reach the 78.6 Fibonacci levels, because this is the strong low. Yes, for let's head over to 1 hour time frame and see what we have. Yes, you can see that this is the swing low, and this here is the swing high. Yes, this is the swing high, and this here we have is the swing low. This here, yes, this here internal structure, I'll be using it as internal liquidity, and it's only when we get a swipe of this internal liquidity is when I'll be looking for longs to push price further to the upside. Okay, and so on the Euro USD this week, this is what I'm looking at, and yes, this is the high probable trade for me this week. And if we get this setup and by any chance it is violated, okay, and for that case, what I mean by being violated is when we see price pushing lower than this level, and it depends with how it will react here. If we see it pushing lower, probably I'll be shifting bearish, and yes, by a break of this structure I'll be looking to take this price lower, and so that's what I'll be looking for this week. And yes, in these markets as traders, especially retail traders, we are never paid to make predictions. Okay, we are only paid to follow the footprints of the big institutional traders. Okay, and for that case, we are only looking to be flexible with this with this trend and these prices. If it's going to break structure to the downside, I'll shift my bias and be looking for short positions. But nevertheless, we have a very strong low and a very good internal liquidity. Let's see if we are going to swipe that internal liquidity and probably attain that 78.6 Fibonacci retracement levels before we push further to the upside and fulfill the higher time frame correction. And so that's what I'll be looking at on the Euro USD. Moving forward, let's look at GBP USD. I don't think it's have a very good, a very good price action, but nevertheless, let's look. We can see that we had, you can say, we can call it a break of structure or swipe of liquidity. And if this is a clear break of structure, but it's this price action is very dodgy, because you can see that yes, we did take this liquidity, but the price failed to close below this. Okay, and so this is a bit dodgy for me, but nevertheless we have this swing high, and this here we have currently is a swing low. And if we plot our Fibonacci retracement from the swing low, from the swing high to swing low, you can see that price is currently trading above 78.6, and you can see that we've taken this last internal liquidity on the daily time frame. And so I'm still skeptical as we are looking to push, as we are looking the dollar index to stay bullish and push the, to stay bearish, to push the price further to the downside and to fulfill the daily time frame correction. But unfortunately, we can see that the pound has corrected very aggressively and has now attained the 78.6 Fibonacci retracement. And so maybe if we get, I'll only be bearish if we take these lows and retrace, okay? But with the current order flow and the current lower time frame trend, I don't think this is a very, very good setup. And so that's it on the daily time frame. We have now retraced on the premium zone, but I'll not be looking to enter any short positions currently unless we get a good break of structure on the 4-hour time frame. And so let's head over to 4-hour and look what we have here. Yes, let me do away with all these drawings here. We can see that on the 4-hour, this is the last the daily internal liquidity. Okay, but on the 4-hour, we can see that we had this last break of structure to the upside, and whatever is happening inside here is still internal. Okay, and so I think it's only fair for us to look for corrections and continuation with the current trend. Okay, take this liquidity maybe on the 78.6 and push higher, but I don't think yes, I think we have to be patient with the pound, as I don't see any high probable setups. And so for that case, let's move forward to gold. let's go on the daily time frame. Yes, on the daily time frame I can say that this is a clean break of structure followed with this clean break of structure, and so on the daily time frame clearly we are bearish. Yes, clearly on the daily time frame we are bearish, and so it's only fair for us to look to continue with this bearish trend. But you can see that on the daily time frame we don't have any much details. Yes, we don't have any good details on the price action. So let's head over to 4-hour time frame and see what we have here. Yes, let me do away with these drawings. Yes. So this was our last swing high, and this is swing low. I mean our current swing high, and this is our current swing low. And yes, our price has been pushing lower, but we can see that the swing low is still intact, and yes, I'm still bearish. I'm still very bearish, and we can see that we have internal break of structure over here. You can see that price has been printing a series of lower low and lower highs, lower highs, lower lows. And so probably since we still have these we still have liquidity on the downside, probably we can have a good correction, take this internal liquidity and continuation to take this swing low and fulfill the higher time frame price action. And so it's not really a very good setup. Let's head over on the 1 hour time frame to see it more clear. Yes, probably we could have this and swipe this internal liquidity here, and that will be yes, it will be a very high probable setup since we've taken the fuel to push this price lower. And so I'm anticipating a correction to 78.6, take this internal liquidity and push lower. Maybe we could still have this swipe of this liquidity and push lower. So that is what I'll be looking on the gold, and let's see how the markets will open. And like I told you, we don't really dictate what's happened in these markets. We only flow and be flexible with what markets shows us. Okay. And so last but not least, we are going to look at BTC. Yes, as usual, we are going to start from the daily time frame, and we can see that on the daily time frame the price has been printing a series of, yes, let me show you, we have been printing a series of lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. And so it's only fair for us to continue with this trend. Okay, clearly you can see that the daily time frame is very bearish, very bearish, printing a series of lower lows and lower highs. And so I am very bearish on the daily time frame. But as we know, the daily time frame takes way longer to fulfill, and it's very hard for you to get good setups to capitalize on them. Okay, and for that case, we head to the lower time frame and to look for risk and probably opportunities to push this price lower. And on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that we had this last break of structure to the downside. This is our swing high, and this here is our swing low. And so since we are very bearish on the since we are very bearish on the daily time frame, it's only fair for us to continue with it. Okay, we don't really want to fight the trend. As we all know, the trend is your friend, and so it is wise in this case to look for shorts. And for that case, as usual, we are only looking to capitalize on these short positions once we reach the premium levels. In this case, you can take 61.8 Fibonacci, but in 78.6 is our stronger level, as we have this internal liquidity over here to fuel that movement to the downside. And so probably we can have, yes, we can have, and I think we've already taken that liquidity, we can have a continuation to the downside from there, or we can take that, we can, because we can see that we have been inducing a lot of sellers here. We can take those early sellers and induce them all before we push lower. And so this is what I'll be looking on the BTC. Probably you could take those aggressive shorts, but still, if you if you cannot take this aggressive short, you can just wait for the price to shift lower, okay, break structure to the downside, and wait for that retracement and take that short position and push the price lower. This is the same setup. One is aggressive entry and the other one is a more conservative entry with a confirmation. This is just one setup. And last but not least, once we lose all those sellers and we check them, is when we are going to probably look for those short positions and push the price to around 50,000 levels. And so this is what I'll be looking for on the BTC. Let me know what you think about these setups. but I'll put more emphasis on the euro dollar setup and this BTC setup. Yes, those are more, I can say, the most probable setups for this week. But you tell me, please comment on comment on this video and tell me what you think about these setups, and maybe you can also share with us what you are looking for coming this week. And for anyone who is joining us for the first time, this is Traders Hub YouTube channel where we post trading educational content and weekly technical analysis every Sundays. And with you here is Maalim Athman, head trader at Traders Hub. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button for you to be notified whenever we release a new video. And since I've finished my analysis, see you coming week. Ciao.